we need to talk about Tyler Perry's Straw movie again. There has been so much chatter online and so much confusion and divisiveness around this movie, okay? But I still stand on my rating. I rate this movie still a solid 8.5 over 10. And if you haven't seen part 1 of my video, you should check that one out first before you watch this one, okay? But I will give you a quick recap of what I included in that video, okay? But nonetheless, guys, today we're going to go over 5 things that you might have got twisted or confused by with watching this movie. But before we get started, let me introduce myself. My name is Brandi, and I realize that you could be on any channel in the world right now, but you're right here with me, and I really appreciate that. So go ahead and like this video, and also subscribe to my channel if you do like watching TV show reviews and also movie reviews. All right, so let's begin with a quick recap of what I explained the 5 clues were that you missed in part 1 of this video, okay? The 5 clues that Janiyah was hallucinating most of this movie and that her daughter Janiyah had died the night before were as follows. The first clue was the dinner for 2 that we saw on the table, but only 1 meal was eaten. The second clue was Sinbad ignoring Arya when she asked, "Where are your teeth?" The third clue was the principal. She looked at her really weird when Janiyah pulled up at the school to drop Arya off, and she looked so confused because Arya wasn't there. Like, Janiyah was literally dropping no one off. The fourth clue, the principal did not say a word during the whole CPS altercation that Janiyah hallucinated and conjured up in her mind. And that's because that whole scene was only a figment of her imagination. The fifth clue that we should have noticed was that Janiyah kept insisting that she needed $40 to go back to the school to give to Arya for lunch, okay? But mind you, Arya in Janiyah's mind had already got taken away by CPS. So why is she still screaming and fussing about this $40 that she needs, right? And also, this is a 6th bonus clue, okay? When the detectives come to question Sinbad, Sinbad is talking in past tense about the daughter. He is saying the daughter was sick. She was on medication, okay? So that was the 6th clue that we should have noticed. All right, so now I recapped those 5 clues that were in part 1 of this video, okay? But I do want to say this before we go on to things that seem to be very confusing for the audience, okay? Tyler Perry, I believe, was very intentional with writing this script, okay? He used a lot of open-ended storytelling and a lot of intentional vagueness, and things were deliberately left unclear to spark thought or debate. And his strategy worked, again, because everybody is just talking about this movie online, okay? But some of the things I see people confused about, well, let's start with the number 1 thing on my list. People seem to be very confused about when did Janiyah start hallucinating? So what was real versus what was fake? And I'll admit, it was a lot of ambiguity around that for me too. I had to watch it the second time to actually catch it. But I believe Janiyah started hallucinating right around the time her daughter passed away, which we learned was the night before, okay? So we see at the end, when the twist is revealed, that Janiyah is walking out the hospital with the empty blanket, okay? Versus the beginning of the movie where we see Janiyah walking out of the hospital with her daughter in her arms in that same blanket, okay? So she goes home, she prepares the noodles for both of them. We see the uneaten food on the table from the night before, okay? She wakes up the next morning and she goes about her normal routine, giving her daughter a bath for school. We're going to talk about that bath. I think that bath is very important as well. We see her dropping her daughter off for school, the weird drop off where the principal was looking at her weird, okay? So we know she was hallucinating from that. We know she was hallucinating even before she got to the school because she walked out and Sinbad did not acknowledge her daughter. He totally ignored the daughter when she said, "Where are your teeth?" right? She's also hallucinating at work, okay? Because it's revealed at the end that the phone call that she received was not actually from Arya's school telling her that CPS was at the school because Arya had bruises all over her back. That phone call was actually just a bill collector, okay? So that scene was a hallucination as well. And I think that Janiyah stopped hallucinating just a bit right after that CPS altercation when she has the encounter on a road with that maniac cop. Mind you, we're only like 13, 14 minutes into the movie at this point. So many things happened just within the first few minutes of this movie. But we know that the altercation on the road with the cop was real, right? Because we see at the end of the movie that they're talking about when they identify who the cop was, because that's what Janiyah requested, because she was so terrified that he was going to blow her brains out in a legal way, as he said to her, right? We see that Janiyah tells them to look for proof on her car. Like, look, you could tell that he hit my car. Do you see the marks on my car? She says something to that effect, right? So we know that that part really happened. We also know that the bank robbery, for lack of a better word, actually happened too, okay? Because we obviously see how that played out, right? But I do want to say, I still think, even though she kind of snapped out of her hallucination, any therapist, chime in below, right? Because I might be slaughtering this because I'm not a professional, but I don't know how hallucination exactly works, but I think she was going in and out of her hallucinations actually, okay? So I think the cop situation on the road is when it really became real. The bank situation was real. Her killing her boss was obviously real, okay? Because we see they're looking at camera footage of that as well, okay? But I will say this, I do think she was still hallucinating somewhat in that bank as well, okay? Because again, one of the clues I mentioned was she kept talking about the $40 that she needs to go take back to the school, and her daughter is no longer even at the school. So I think she was still partially hallucinating. But again, just kudos to Tyler Perry, because it is a lot of intentional ambiguity around when she started versus when she stopped hallucinating. All right, the second thing that we might have missed on the first watch, right, was how did everyone know that Aria passed away, okay? So some of the questions that I'm seeing online is, how did the principal know that Aria passed the night before? How did Sinbad know? How did Sherry know, okay? And I just want to remind you that we see this story being told through Janiyah's POV. We don't see what's happening in the background, okay? We don't see that the cops could have told Sherry Shepherd on that phone call when they called to find out about the bank robbery, okay? We don't see that maybe her mom was looking for her during the day when Janiyah was caught up in the bank robbery and they turned her phone off. Maybe her mom went to the house and was trying to find her, and she told the neighbors, including Sinbad, that the daughter passed away, okay? So just want to mind you, we're only seeing things through Janiyah's eyes. We're not seeing the whole picture as far as what's going on and what's being told to the people in the background, okay? I do not think that the principal knew that Aria passed away right away. I think she was just waving and looking very weird during that drop-off just because Janiyah's behavior was strange. She wasn't dropping off anybody. She opened up the door. Aria didn't get out. She's waving bye to no one. So I don't necessarily think that the principal knew that Aria passed away. Third misconception that I'm seeing online is that Janiyah died, right? Janiyah did not die, guys. It's at the end of this movie, right? A lot of people believe that, you know, this is some kind of deep artwork and it's deeper than what it is, right? Listen, I do think this movie is deeper than what a lot of us might think it is, but it ain't that deep. Like, she did not die at the end of this movie. I think that was part of her going in and out of her hallucinations, okay? When her mama called her during that bank scene and told her that Aria died the night before, I think she broke again, and I think she hallucinated dying. She hallucinated that scene where the cops and FBI shoot her dead, right? Because she didn't want to live anymore. She didn't want to be. What was her purpose in life if she was not a mom anymore with Aria to love? So that part was just a figment of her imagination. I see a lot of people online saying, yeah, I think she died. And then I think after her death, she is hallucinating that she got arrested. Again, not an expert, but I don't think you hallucinate after you die. Wouldn't that be you just going into a whole nother life? Look, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but again, I don't think you hallucinate after you die. Therefore, I don't think that Janiyah died in this movie. In fact, Tyler Perry confirmed it, right? Because he said he had a different ending for Janiyah written, but he decided not to go with her dying in that alternate ending because it will be too devastating for the audience, okay? All right, now the fourth thing I see a lot of confusion around is, when did Aria die? Guys, Aria did not die at birth. I know Taraji, she had a lot of a conversation with the ladies at the bank about her difficulty giving childbirth and how she was given bad information by the doctor and she knew something was off during labor and delivery. But Aria did not die at birth. Just want to confirm, okay? She died the night before. we see this horrible day taking place for Janiyah. Now, the fifth thing that there's some confusion about, and this kind of baffled me as well, was how did Aria die exactly, okay? And I'm speculating here again because it's a lot of ambiguity, but I believe she died the night before in the bathtub. I believe that Janiyah finally let Aria have the independence that she craved and she kept asking for, and she let Aria breathe alone. And I think Aria had a seizure in the tub. Maybe she fell back on the side of the tub, and that's why it was mentioned several times that she had bruises all over her back, okay? I think she just had a seizure in the tub, fell down somehow, and that's how she passed away, because they kept mentioning the bathtub, they kept mentioning bruises all over her back. So I think that ties into her death somehow, some way. Okay, so I addressed the 5 main things that I see people online being confused about with this movie, okay? But I want to say this, like, I really wish that Janiyah did not shoot her boss, okay? Like, I wish that scene was somehow a hallucination, okay? Because part of me wants to see a Straw Part 2. Part of me thinks it's complete and it's fine left the way it is. But part of me just wishes we could undo that scene somehow, because that scene still just baffles me. It's very uncharacteristic of her. I know she snapped and did it in a moment, but I wish somehow, some way that did not happen. I wish she could just, I don't know if it was an alternate ending, somehow she could have just woke up and this was just all a bad dream for her, all of her. I wish somehow that her baby could be alive and that she didn't commit murder, that she didn't like rob a bank. I just wish so much more for Janiyah, okay? And that's why I know that this movie is solid, because I'm still thinking about it, and it's almost 2 weeks after I initially saw this movie when it first dropped on Netflix, okay? But nonetheless, guys, hopefully I answer all of your questions in the comments, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.